everybody. This is Cathy from Fabric Bash and Quilting Central. Are you guys excited? I am. How about you, Julie?
Yes, this is Julie with Two Chicks Quilting in South Texas, and I'm joining Cathy and Angie.
Hey guys, Angie from the Quilting Connection in Wisconsin. Welcome to the Quilting Central Podcast. Our goals for this podcast are to help inspire you, to help create a safe space for all of you quilters. No quilting police here, no judges here. We want to share our knowledge of all things quilting and just try to help inspire you and learn new things about the quilting process.
Yay, I'm excited. So this week's topic is going to be something that is near and dear to Julie and I's heart, and Angie gets to figure out if she ever wants to do this part of her store. And maybe, just maybe, I hope we inspire her to buy fabric. So Julie and I tend to do that on a regular basis, right, Miss Julie?
Probably more than we should.
According to our advisor, yes.
So I find it funny, not funny, I guess really kind of funny when customers, you guys just don't understand what we have to go through to buy fabric, what the process is. And that's kind of something we wanted to share with you because it kind of is deceiving sometimes, where you think that, you see these pictures online and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this fabric. And you bring it to us and you say, do you have this? And we're like, I have never seen that in all my life. I don't know where that came from. Where did you get that picture? And so we see probably, we should have counted how many fabric companies we purchase from, how many different companies there are out there. And we have reps that come around and show us fabric for some of our reps carry 10 or 12 different companies.
Yes.
Yeah. So so they've got a lot to show us in a day, and it will definitely consume a majority of a day when that particular rep shows up. So it is fun. It is probably one of the things I enjoy the most is picking the fabric, but it is a process and it is a time. It's not, we don't buy it and it's here tomorrow kind of thing. So that's what we kind of wanted to explain to you guys, that whole process of what it takes from when we think of a quilt, a kit to make at our shop, and we order that fabric, and then it's not, it's still got to be made and printed and then delivered to us. And it may be 6 months, 7 months down the road before we ever get that fabric. There's sometimes we've ordered it 12 months ago before we get it. And then we have to cut it and package it and, all of it and ship it to you. So there is a little bit of a alignment of the stars for a lot of things.
Yes. So. But I would say that customer that does bring in, to your point, Julie, that customer that does bring in this product and say, hey, do you have this? And when I have it, I'm like,
yeah. That 1 in 500 times.
No, because there's within each company, there's so much fabric. Within each fabric, there's so much this. I mean, it gets to be after a while it is fun, it is a challenge, but it's a good challenge that I think Julie and I like to accept and step up to that plate.
If you like adrenaline rushes when you are kitting something and you're trying to, you've got 250 of these kits you're making and the company says, oh my gosh, UPS lost a box.
Yeah.
That was today.
Oh no.
Oh no. UPS lost a whole box.
Yeah.
And just one or several fabrics.
Just one that we can figure out right now. So anyway, it is definitely a good topic for today.
So being new to the store too, when you have a store that just opens up, it takes a while for all of us to get into that jam too. It took us a long time, and it's a science in and of itself. But then you have all of these reps that have to first make an appointment with us. So first we got to be there. Second of all, we got to make sure that we have room to buy it. And then third of all, I got our budget, because we have budget.
Before time out right here, Cathy, before we are, we're quilters first. Number one, we're all three quilters, right? Number two, we're business owners.
Yes.
And as a business owner, for us to stay in business, we have to stay in budget. At least that's what they keep telling us, right? So when we talk about our open to buy, that means how much we can spend on that one product. Because if we don't get restraints put on us, Cathy and I could have a lot of fabric. So yeah,
I did have a lot of fabric. So I had big eyes when I moved from my 2,000 square foot store to my 8,000 square foot store. And that was right after COVID happened, when all the port issues happened. There was fabric, I jokingly say, puking in the back door, giving Jacob and I just heart attacks on how we were going to pay for all of it. Because even though we, quote, ordered it, I ordered it way, and then it all came at the same time. And it was crazy pants, to quote one of my friends. Crazy.
It was wild. But yeah, so we have the reps come see us. And then we order. So the last rep that was here, I was ordering stuff that's going to be delivered next January and February.
Yes.
So it's not even June yet. So
okay, you need to watch this lady over here, and watch her eyes keep getting bigger and bigger, going, maybe.
But like that fabric that's coming in January, February, like what style is that? Is that stuff for summer, or like talk a little bit about that?
So when we let's just talk about Christmas fabric.
Okay. Yeah.
Christmas fabric that we're going to get in December, or that we want for Christmas for 2025. We ordered that in
last Christmas,
December of 2024.
Mm-hmm. November and December of 2024.
November and December is when they started selling us Christmas. They, however, are still showing us Christmas now, saying we're going to get it. But most of our Christmas that we ordered will start coming delivered to us in June. Okay. So we will have the new Christmas fabric starting in June, July, August. Those are the months that the new stuff generally comes in. Most of it June and July. I've gotten a little bit of my Christmas in already in May. So, because if you think about it, you're making Christmas quilts. If you're going to use Christmas fabric or making stockings, most of us aren't going to wait till November to do that.
Well,
some of us do. And so, so everything, the seasons are kind of like clothes. When shops get closed, or they start selling, bathing suits in January, there's still snow on the ground, So, fabric's not much different than that.
No, it's not. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, but then the rep comes in and we have some greetings and how things are going, because we're friends with these people, right? Don't you think, Julie? You're friends with your rep?
Definitely.
And then they start opening up, ooh, this collection, and ooh, this collection, and ooh, this collection. And
they are actually salesmen. They're salesmen. They're trying to sell it to us. And I will tell you, I have a very hard time of buying fabric that I personally do not like.
Right.
And here's why. We have to sell that fabric to somebody else.
Yes.
So if I don't love that fabric and I don't think it's something that I would make for myself, I have a really hard time putting it in my shop, because I don't know how to sell that to somebody else. Right. So if it's not my style, or one of the girls that work for me will take it and run with it, it's not coming. So, I don't, we're a very bright shop, as you can probably tell from the quilt hanging behind me, a little more leaning modern, not technically modern, but we're brighter. And so reproduction fabric, Civil War fabric, you're not going to find that in my shop. So that's where you kind of, your taste really shines in what fabrics you put out on your shelves.
Absolutely. But I do try to not just channel Cathy fabrics. I do
me too, but it's to a certain degree.
Right. I will ask my my staff if they like certain. I will pick first, and then even sometimes get outside of my comfort zone to see if somebody likes it, or I ask them what they are hearing at the cutting table, or what we like to call the therapy table. what they're hearing people are requesting, and I do try to listen to that.
So then, as a customer, request, right? Talk to the people.
Yes, talk to your shop. Yes.
Yeah.
I listen. I mean, I even hear people saying mushroom fabric, so I've started to see some more mushroom fabric and picking up some of that kind of fun stuff. Like it's a thing. I really truly listen.
So when you guys say collection, help explain that to us non-fabric shop owners. What does a collection mean?
Well, like Tulip Pink's collection that comes in like 25 bolts or whatever, 10, 15, 20, 25 bolts.
Can y'all give me 1 minute?
Oh, you can. I'll keep doing my little thing. Look at, she disappeared, Angie. Got it. A collection is something that you can, it's usually one and done.
So you order it one time.
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to be able to make your kits out of it, and then it's going to be
so y'all know, like when you magically pull something out of the oven in the cooking shows. Okay, so if you can see this video, you're going to see we talked about some, we're talking about collections right now. So typically a collection of a designer line. Your designers design the prints on the fabric, the colors, they put all that together. They're the designers. So you've got, Tulip Pink's a very popular designer. Her collection, now this is an old collection, so don't ask me if you're watching this video if I have it, because no, I don't. I'm saving this because it's going to be worth a lot of money one day.
Like a Beanie Baby?
Yes, it's going to be like a Beanie Baby. So this is her Lineworks collection, and it was probably 30-something SKUs. A SKU is one print. So see how that has all those different prints in it? They all go together. You don't have to worry when you're buying from a collection. You don't have to say, oh, well, that pink's not the same pink as this pink.
Right.
It's going to match because that designer made it that way. So that's what's so awesome about the pre-cuts that come, because that is like, this is a collection from Ruby Star called Heirloom. And it actually has like two squares of each bolt or each SKU in the collection. So you get a little piece of the entire 20-something bolts, or however many there are in that collection. A lot of shops, I'm going to say a lot of shops, I don't know what everybody else does. I know what I do. I typically don't buy, if it's got 30 bolts or, 24 bolts in a collection, I'm not going to buy all of those. Typically what they do is they kind of have a couple of different colorways they go. And so we pull what we like out of all of them, and we end up getting usually 12 bolts or so. Because if you buy all 30 of those, you've got a whole lot of these little just tone on tone prints that they don't really go with anything else. And the first thing you're going to sell is all of your big focals. And then you got all this left over. That ends up at our shop on the clearance wall. So that is one thing that we buy with a goal in mind. We generally always, as we're sitting there with the rep, say, this pattern is what we're going to kit, because we kit everything. we're going to cut fat quarters and make fat quarter bundles with it. If we don't buy the collector fat quarter bundles, which we typically don't because they're so expensive to buy the big stack of them, that most of those we end up having to split up anyway for people because they don't want $100 fat quarter bundle. So we cut our own fat quarters and we make fat quarter bundles like that are 12 to 16 in a bundle. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of how collections work. So your designer designs that collection. Most designers put out 1 or 2 a year. If they're a major designer, they sometimes put out 3 or 4 a year, which is a lot of new fabric coming out for us to buy for y'all. And like I said, we're anywhere from 6 to 10 or 12 months
Right.
behind. Yeah.
Well, and also you can see how many designers the big companies, Benertex, you can go to their webpage and see their designers. Free Spirit, you can just see all their designers. As a matter of fact, designers switch places. So Juicy Juice used to be with Andover, and now he's with Free Spirit. So it's an interesting journey watching how some of the designers go between the different companies as well.
And they grow. And there's reasons they do that. For their own, their own business. But yeah, so and as they grow in their skill set and in their design, it's fun to watch them grow. It's fun to see the changes. So yeah, but you can definitely, most designers, they have that look and it just continues on. They have that color palette and it just continues on. And you can mix and match, from one of Tula's collections, you can pull in fabric from another Tula collection and it's just going to go together. So, yeah, that's kind of collections. I don't know. Did we answer all of that, Angie, about what a collection is?
Yeah, I think so. But I know you guys were mentioning too that sometimes when you buy a collection, like say I buy a layer cake, because I love layer cakes, I love jelly rolls, I love charm packs, I love all that. And like you said, I'm going to get probably 2 of each one of the fabrics from the entire collection in those layer cakes, jelly rolls, and charm packs, right?
Right.
Perfect.
On average,
And
on average, 1 or 2 squares of each bolt.
Yeah. And so then say I buy that, but what happens if I don't buy my border and then I don't make my quilt for like 6 or 7 months?
You may be upset.
Yeah.
Because most collections that are by designers are not reprinted.
Right.
They either have to be super, super, super popular, or some companies do reprint certain designers. It's rare though, unless they make their line of basic. So like Lori Holt has a bunch of basics, right? But if you want a specific print, you better get it when it first comes out.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not open for substitutions and you want something specific, and if it's just a regular designer line, it comes out, and once we ordered it, so we ordered it say 6 months ago, and we get it in and we sell through all our pre-cuts and we sell all the yardage on the bolt, and you bought a layer cake and you go home and you wait a year and you make that layer cake up, and then you come back to me and say, do you still have this fabric? No. And there's no more for me to order. I can't order it. It's gone in the warehouse.
Yep,
so,
gone and been on our sale rack and all that good stuff, right?
And you may find it online. You may find it at a lot of shops don't put their fabric on sale. They let it sit there and sit there and sit there. And Cathy and I make it pay rent, so it can't sit there that long.
Also too, it becomes like stale bread.
Right.
If you come in and see the same fabric all the time, then I'm not serving my customer very well either by not bringing in new fabrics. So
more than likely, you're not going to find that 2 years from now or a year from now. It's going to be hard to find it.
And even backing, if you want to do your backing at the same, depending, you got to think about your backing as well. What kind of backing do you want with that?
Yeah.
And binding, border
And
backing,
binding.
binding.
Yep.
So we always recommend when somebody's coming in, and if they're just buying a layer cake and they don't have a project in mind, we generally say, okay, you're going to want to probably put a border on this. Why don't you at least get an outer border fabric, get 2 yards, you'll have enough to do your border, get, 3/4 of a yard of binding, and you're good. Then you're going to be okay to make whatever you decide to make out of that.
Yes.
You can add an inner border that's a tone on tone, what a blender. You can add some background fabric or blender fabric that's not from the line, and you'll be okay. But if you want those prints to match, you need to get it all, when you get it.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes too, when the wide backs and more wide backs are being matched with the collection, which is kind of fun to see. So even at that you would want to get, at least a 2.5, if not 3-yard cut.
Yeah.
Of a wide back.
Have a wide back.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be reprinted either. If it's for a specific collection, it's not going to be reprinted unless it's one of their basic collection or basic wide backs that they reprint all the time.
And I will tell you, even some of the manufacturers, if I order it and it's due out in January, but I have no room in my budget and I try to get it in February, I'm not necessarily guaranteed every single bolt that I ordered. So even for us to delay, we come across some issues as well. So we're just truly trying our best to fulfill what we can when we can. So we like to do some more pre-orders, which I think are kind of fun. So you can see what lines are coming in to pull off some of the fabrics if you would like to get a whole collection. I don't know about you, Julie, but I'm going to start doing more fat quarter, half yards, and yard bundles out of the lines as well.
So we do, Cathy and I both sell a little kit. It's kind of a make your own kit type product. So it's called Half Pack, and both of us carry this lady's patterns, and we make the same little kits, but we put the fabric in it. So she gives us the pattern in the package and we add the fabric. So it's 5 half-yard cuts. They can choose from one of 10 different patterns they can pick. So if they buy a half pack, they get the pattern for free. So we make half packs out of pretty much every line that comes through the door. And those are the way we do them. We can put anything with them, but what we generally do is, 3 or 4 pieces from that collection, and then we may add a blender in there just to kind of calm it down so it's not super wild. But those are great to grab because number one, you get the free pattern, so you can end up collecting all the patterns. And then you can also, they're great smaller kids or donation type, or do you just need a little gift for a throw? They're super fast and easy to make.
Or you need some therapy while you're doing that paper piecing and you need something fast to say, I accomplished something.
Yeah. Instant gratification.
Yeah. So they're like throw size is what they end up to be.
Yeah.
Nice. I like calling them nappy quilts that you can take a nap on,
Yeah. Yeah. So then on top of collections, some of the other fabrics that you guys always try to have in stock would be your backgrounds, blenders, what other stuff?
That's what we call them, blenders in our store. Reorderables, maybe, because they are typically reorderable, which means I can get them again. Obviously, that's a good word, right? But in our store, I'm a little bit different than some. I don't necessarily have a color wall. I have a blender wall. So I still try to keep them within a collection, but within they're like all the paintbrush solids are in one place and all of my Stonehenge is in another place. So that way, if they want to mix and match, they do have to sometimes go over different places for blues. They're not all in one spot.
And see, mine are put by color, except the solids are kept separate. So all of our solids are separate. And then all of the rest of the blenders, unless it's a brand new, because blenders come out in a line as well.
Yes.
So if you get a, what is the one you just said that you just got in, Cathy? The paint,
A paintbrush, or there's
is it-
Vertex. We both had Vertex from QT
Yes.
Fabrics.
Yeah, so Vertex was a new blender line, and we kept that together right at first, like just for the first month or so, and then we break it down into color. So ours is sorted out, all the colors, whether it's grunge or thatched or pin dot or whatever it is. If it's turquoise, it's together. If it's royal blue, it's together. So I think we've done it both ways, and every store is different. So
Yep.
it just kind of, every store is different how they do it. And we've done it both ways. And I tend to like it this way a lot with the sorted by color.
For me, I gotta keep in, because again, you heard us say we like to turn our fabric so we can bring in new fabric. It's not that we're, it's kind of like you want to build up new stuff in your stash, right? We're doing kind of the same thing to share it with you guys. I just have to do it for my brain, what works best, where I can keep track of the fabrics.
Yeah.
The whole process of fabric is a whole nother layer of fun to the store.
Yeah. So one of the things that we you just said like bundles, yard bundles. We talked about like the half yard bundle. There is a designer that I think we both carry the pattern for. Her name is Quilting Central, and she has what's called the AOK patterns. The patterns are awesome. Like, I love her pattern. She's a wonderful pattern writer.
Yes.
Her patterns are black and white on the front. So the picture is not pictured with a printed fabric. It is black and white, grayscale pictures, because she has a little theory of how you can pick fabric for any of her patterns. And she has probably 15 maybe that made with 5 1-yard cuts. So we always bundle them in 6 1-yard cuts, because we throw an extra one in there that can be used for binding, and they can switch it for one, whichever one they like the best. But here's what you keep in mind when you're out shopping for fabric. This is what I always tell my customers. If you're out shopping for fabric and you see that line of fabric that you're like, oh my God, I love that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I have no idea. You buy 6 yards. You buy a large print, a medium print, a light, medium, and dark.
So that's 1 yard of each. 1 yard of each.
1 yard of each. And then throw in an extra yard for your binding. And then you can choose any of her patterns to make that with that fabric. So that makes an easy thing to keep in mind when you're shopping. If you collected those Quilting Central patterns or those AOK patterns, then you can always refer back to them.
And even I would say the 3 1-yard kits,
yes,
and they're in her books too as well. So again, you got 6 yards. You can use those 3 yards in 2 different quilts if you want to as well.
Or she also has instructions how to make her 3-yard quilt double size, or bigger. So usually if you had 6 yards, then you can make a bigger quilt using that pattern.
Right. And those are all great patterns. And I even love some of the Villa Rosa patterns that I love that are coming now, a little bit more yard cuts as well. It's been kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
So see, we're helping everybody. We have multiple options for one line of fabric, which I think is kind of fun.
Yeah. And what I find funny about, there's a couple of local shops near me that we keep in touch, and we're like, that looks like something they're going to order. We're not going to go heavy in that because, that totally reads them. And we call each other, hey, did you order such and such? And if they say, well, I looked at it, I decided not to, then we go heavier in that. If it's one that we both just couldn't live without, typically what happens is we're not buying the same bolts, because like I told you, there's maybe 30 bolts in that collection. She's not buying all 30. I'm not buying all 30. And typically I pick different ones. I like a different colorway in it, or we pick different bolts. We may have some overlap, but it's really cool that customers can go, oh, well, I bought this there, but she didn't have the border fabric I wanted. So they come over to my shop and they get the border fabric that they want to go with it. So, or I run out of it and she has it, or vice versa, so.
Right.
Now we try to work, quilt shops try to, as y'all can tell here, quilt shops try to work together if we can, that's the best. That's the best thing.
I try to keep a pulse on what I is, but at the time, if I just like it, I'm just gonna like, hey, I like it, so I just get it. So
Good.
What other questions you have, Miss Angie?
Yeah, can you also talk to me or talk to us, fabric quality? Like, why do some fabrics feel so different compared to others? I can speak a little bit on batiks, if that's okay, because I worked for So Batik for a couple of years. They're out of Mayville, North Dakota. I absolutely love their fabrics. So what I learned from working from them is that base fabric makes such a huge difference.
Right.
So
The gray goods, gray goods, yeah,
gray goods, yep. So Bruce and Diane, the owners of So Batik, Bruce wanted a really soft batik that you could even hand quilt through. It feels more like a typical 45-inch wide cotton because it is just so much softer. So that base fabric made a huge difference in the quality that he was making, and it doesn't have that same stiffness that some of the other company batiks that are out there too. So that means it's a lot easier for my needle to go through that fabric and to go through that project, whether I'm hand quilting it, which I don't do that, or if my long arm is going through there. So, they were still hand stamped and hand dyed in Indonesia and then brought back over here to be sold, but you could really feel that difference. So talk to me a little bit more about differences that you guys feel in fabrics.
Well, I think it all starts with the gray goods. Like it.
And the gray goods, we're talking just plain non-dyed fabric that gets to be dyed somewhere, whether it be by digital or by printing the old
screen method way.
Screen method, yes.
Yeah. And it's going to start with that. And in different countries that the fabric is made in have a different feel. Different factories all have a different feel. There are some of the name brand companies I order from has more of a sateen type feel to it. Some are a little rougher. And I don't know, without going into brand names,
right.
Typically the brands that we buy from are good quality. And that's where you get, a lot of times we will say quilt shop quality, but there are lower end, lower quality fabrics out there that are made for the big box stores, and they're made to be sold cheap. And I don't want to sound like a fabric snob in that sense, because I know everybody has a budget, but when you're buying fabric for a quilt and you think about, you're giving this as a gift, you're making it for a specific reason. You're spending a lot of time in on it. I've seen fabric put into a quilt that some of it came from the fabric shop, some of it came from the quilt shop, some of it came from a big box store, and they put it all together in one quilt. And the particular quilt I'm thinking about was had a lot of black and white in it, like a lot of blacks in it. And she had it like near a window and like on the back of the couch. And it didn't take long until several of those fabrics were brown.
Oh no.
And so when she started thinking about it, she was like, that's the fabric I got at the big box store. So there's a lot of differences in the quality. And so, I don't know. It's just hard it's hard for me to tell somebody this, to say, you can't buy fabric here, you can't buy fabric there, because you can,
You can.
It just depends on what you're doing with it and what you expect the end results to be. But just be aware that there is a difference.
I have one of my employees brought in a table runner she made just 20 years ago. So it's really not that old, right? And the fabric is cafe with some black fabric that she bought at a big box store. And the fabric is already frayed and opened up, and there's holes to see into the batting already.
And the
Or
black fabric is open.
yeah, the black fabric. Or I've also heard somebody bought a fabric line at a quilt store and also got a couple extra pieces of the same line at a big box store, but the big box store fabric already was shredding and fading. And it's not even 20 years. So the other fabric is still good. So when we say that, we're not saying that to be mean, and we understand that certain people can only afford certain things. So good, please do what you can do. But if you're going to spend the time and you want to make a graduation present that's going to last a long time, maybe think about just to try to save a little bit more to splurge for that extra fabric that is going to last that time.
Or check our sale sections.
Yes.
We have a sale shelf that we put our fabric on sale. We also do loyalty points in our shop. We do different monthly specials for different reasons. There's a lot of ways to buy that fabric and get a discount. You know what I mean? Like there's ways to make it work, but just to, in general, there is a difference in quality.
And like I said, we work hard. I know you guys, Julie, work hard at your loyalty points, and we even do loyalty points on sale items. I don't discriminate against my full price items and my others. If you meet our loyalty, and then you can do it online and in store, because we get that sometimes you can't have something. Some of us, even though we're some people are very rural. Some people their local quilt store has closed down.
Mm-hmm.
So
our loyalty points work both in store and online. So that's the way a great way to save money is make sure you're logging in, make sure you're setting up an account with those shops that you're shopping with. If they have loyalty points, make sure you understand you have to log in for it to keep track of your points. But
we do need to track a little bit so we can make sure it's the right person that's getting those loyalty points.
Yeah. So so quality did that.
Well, your time and your effort being put into this quilt and your love being put into this quilt are worth maybe just a little bit more, so you can make that last a little bit longer. And like I said, wait till we have some. I love throwing out discounts all the time on our social media or different things like that. So it's a good thing.
And then Miss Cathy, I'm going to call you the queen of wide backs.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about, why does a wide back feel different than a 45? What have you noticed between those?
Well, first of all, the way they're folded can sometimes get a little messy. But if you think away how fabric is folded from a roll all the way folded in half, then on the wide back, they have to fold it in half again. So that whole mechanism, sometimes I think they can be a little bit sloppier, but they can be feel a little bit rougher. But yet I think the quality has been changing on the wide backs to get better and better at that. So when I first started, even 5 years ago, there wasn't, I don't think, as many as there are now. And it's been so much fun. So we have close to 500. I try to keep that as much as possible. Sometimes I'm over 600. It just depends on how fast they're going. But I just think a wide back is basically 1 yard of fabric is 2.5 yards of fabric. So they typically, pardon? About 45. Yes, thank you. 45. So if you think 108 inches, you're getting 2.5 yards and 1 yard cut of a 45. But with that being said, I love some of the settings are starting to come out a little bit more with the wide backs.
Certain brands have just a really nice feel on their wide backs. I love Moda wide backs. Love.
Yes, especially the Kansas Trouble ones.
Yeah, and the Ruby Star ones, they're really nice. Free Spirit has wonderful sateen feel wide backs like the Tulas and the Caifs. But there are brands out there that are extremely not top quality
And stiff. And there's a bigger when you have of a not as many a high of a thread count. When you take that fabric and you put it on your backing, if you have not washed your top, you're not going to wash your backing, but you do that, one rate is going to shrink faster than the other. So it's going to cause some puckering on the front of your quilt.
Mm-hmm. And also, one of the things that I've noticed on those cheaper quality backings, we had one that a lady brought in for us to quilt her quilts, and it turned the whole bed of our machine red.
Yes.
So I would definitely, and on average, you're looking at, on average, a good quality wide back on average is going to cost you no less than what, Cathy? $18 a yard? $19 a yard, $20 a yard. That is, you're looking anywhere. That's bare minimum for a good quality, all the way up to like $26 and $28 a yard.
Right. I mean,
if you're not looking at somewhere between $20 and $28 a yard at the regular price for that fabric, and they're selling it for $13 a yard, it's probably not good quality.
Right. And we're not, again, trying to highlight or pick out. It's just we want the best quality that you can get for your quilt, because you took all of this time, all of this energy putting it together. Your quilt top deserves the best backing that it can have.
So it's not always about the money, but you have to remember, okay, if you piece this beautiful red, white, and blue with all this white background,
yes,
and then you bought this red $13 a yard wide back and put on the back of it, what's going to happen the first time you wash it?
Right.
And so, and possibly even the second and third time you wash it.
Right.
But it definitely is riskier buying the lower quality ones with the dye and all of that. So it's just kind of you'll get into a groove of what you like and what you, that's what we just try to keep nothing but the top end quality in the shop. I don't skimp on that.
I don't want to either. I think my customers are worth all of that. And again, so you take a $22, I'm going to get out my calculator. So I'm going to, because I like doing my calculator a lot. So if I do $22 a yard and you get 2.5 yards, right? So I'm going to divide that by 2.5. It's $8.80 a yard.
Like if you were going to buy it by it, wide back is always cheaper, the cheaper way to go money wise versus buying 45 inch.
Yeah.
You can still use it in your quilt tops, right? Like we can still
use
these for border, especially like a border. If you don't want to piece your border, you can buy a wide back for your border, right? Yeah.
What she said. And then also for binding, I always tell my customers I try to get every ounce after, because we ask for yardage over for the long arming. I try everybody to get every ounce of fabric that they can out of that wide back. So there's multiple ways that you can do that. So
yeah, we always like with our leftover on the wide back, because it's 108 inches, and you know that's if your quilt's only 90 inches long, you've got plenty left on the bottom to bind your quilt with if you wanted to.
And I even try cutting off the design on the long arm so we don't go down deep into that. I want that to have as much possible that they can use all of that fabric goes, either if we trim it, I make sure all of that fabric goes back to the customer.
I always like to remind my customers, if they are bringing me a wide back and say their quilt is only 90, please don't cut it down ahead of time. You don't need to take that time to cut it to give me that 8 inches that I need, because then we're going to cut it again after we long arm it. And now you're going to have multiple pieces of sizes of scraps. Where if you just bring me that whole backing, I'll load it on my frame and I will only use exactly what I need. And then we'll cut right below that quilt. And then that way they get that biggest scrap back. I have a really good friend that she does a lot of very similar colors. You could go in her sewing room and all of her, she doesn't go out of her box a lot. She likes a lot of Kansas Troubles, a lot of very similar Civil War colors. So she would buy 108-inch wide back, and they're usually 15 yards on the bolt. Does that sound right?
Or 18. Yeah.
18.
Yep. So she would buy the entire bolt, and it would just be this like neutral tan color. She'd load it on the long arm, the whole 15, 18 yards, whatever it was. We would roll all of that onto the long arm, and she would just plop down quilt after quilt after quilt. And then once it got too thick, because of our zippers, we could sew a zipper below all the quilts she had done. And then it's ready to cut off the frame to load back on the next time. So the first time it was a ton of rolling, but after
that's a brilliant idea. That is brilliant.
Square up each edge and roll the whole thing on. Because it doesn't, for us as long arm quilters, it doesn't matter how much we roll on. We could roll on literally the entire bolt. So
that's a really good tip for people who are doing charity quilts, especially Quilts of Valor.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I think we've covered style, quality, collections. What else you guys got? Anything else that you want to share?
We'd love buying fabric for you guys, right, Julie?
Yeah. And share with us what you like. And just remember, always try to remember that we aren't buying fabric what we buy today, you're not going to see tomorrow. It's, 6 months down the road at least. So, if you need something specific for Christmas, you better tell us this Christmas for next Christmas.
I love doing in May at graduation. I love doing Christmas for 2 Christmases from now.
Yeah. It's so confusing because we're like, wait, now what Christmas is this for? What?
It's crazy. It's so much fun though. It is so much fun. It is so much fun.
So, that's fabric.
Down below.
Yeah. Comment your questions down below. You guys are just a wealth of knowledge, so I appreciate learning from you guys too.
So are you going to buy fabrics? That's the question now. Did we scare you or did we get you wanting to do more?
It seems like such an amazing part of the whole business and the community. My brain is still long arm focused right now, but it could be a possibility in the future.
Oh, look at that. We didn't scare her, Julie. That's awesome.
No. Maybe we'll bring her over to the dark side.
There you go. With that, everybody, I think we're at a good stopping point, and we look forward to the next podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining.
Thanks. We'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Till next time.
Thanks so much for joining us here at the Quilting Central Podcast. We've had an amazing time today sharing today's quilting stories, tips, and ideas with you.
Absolutely. Whether you're stitching your first quilt or your 50th, we're so glad to have you as part of this wonderful quilting community.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's chat, we'd love it if you could leave us a review or share the podcast with a fellow quilter.
You can also find us on social media for more quilting inspiration, updates, and even behind-the-scenes fun.
And remember to send your quilting questions or stories our way. We love hearing from you. You might even be featured in a future episode.
Until next time, keep stitching, keep creating, and keep spreading the love of one quilt at a time. Bye for now.
Happy quilting!
Happy quilting!
Happy quilting!